Right, well, we might as well start. Not many people, so it's quite an intimate setting with only 3 in the talk, but there we go. So let's start sharing my screen once I've... Right. Okay, so let's prepare my slides. Okay, still preparing them. Loading my presentation. Slides will appear when they are ready. Brilliant. Still working on it. There we go. So yeah, today's session is on instant student feedback with Bing Chat AI. So if you've got any questions, just bang them in the chat. Oh, welcome, Clara. It'd be nice to see where you're from as well. Oh, here's the people arriving. Finally, I was a bit worried. Only like 2 of us. Anyway, yeah, so instant student feedback with Bing Chat AI. That's now changed. It's no longer called Bing Chat AI. It is now called Copilot from today. So this is actually an out-of-date slide already. Okay, so just a point of transitions there. So this broadcast is being recorded on behalf of Microsoft Corporation. So if you don't consent to be part of the recorded session, please disconnect currently. The recording will be made available after the event. If you choose to participate in the Microsoft Teams event, your name, email address, phone number, and or title might be viewable by other participants. Okay, moving on. So who am I? So I'm from Aotearoa, New Zealand. So an important thing we do when we meet new people, like global educators like yourself, is we introduce ourselves from the perspective of where I'm from. Okay, so who am I? So ko Michael Harvey Taku Ingoa. So Michael Harvey is my name. No Ingarani Oko Tipuna. So my ancestors are English. Ki Waiharakeke Aho I Noho Ana. So at present, I am based in Blenheim, in the top of Te Waipounamu, the South Island of New Zealand. And he kiako aho ki te kareti tamata o Wairau. So I am teaching at Marlborough Boys College. And hi, Clara, from the cold UK at the moment, because you've got winter or autumn or fall for our American audiences. Well, I've got spring, so it's about 30 degrees Celsius at the moment here. And finally, he kaikogari aho I te kaupapa Microsoft. So I support the work of Microsoft. Okay. Raining too, yeah, it's England. Lived there for 4 years, never stopped raining. So in terms of the agenda, so the first thing we'll look at is what is Bing Chat AI or Copilot and how does it work? What are the benefits of using Bing Chat AI for instant student feedback? How can Bing Chat AI be used in different learning scenarios and contexts? And what are some of the best practices and tips for using Bing Chat AI effectively in the classroom? Okay, so, and also finally, how you can, if you're not used to it, Bing Chat AI or Copilot, as it's now known today, how you can get on board. And welcome to Canada as well. Looks like Toronto, Ontario. Yeah, again, had to be raining as well. Right, so first things first, what is Bing Chat AI and how does it actually work? Okay, fine. So Bing Chat AI is basically a chat mode of Microsoft Bing that allows your students to have natural and fluent conversations with an intelligent agent, basically. And the beauty of it, it can also be in the language of their choice. And what it does is it uses something called a large language model, okay, which is basically a statistical model to understand student queries and generate creative, if you're tending to use creative mode, which I tend to use a lot more. So basically there's 3 different modes: creative, balanced, and I can't remember the last one. Anyway, and it basically it's more creative as it moves along. And it basically generates creative and informative responses. And recently, because of its integration with DALL-E 3, it can create digital artworks, describe images, search the web, generate various types of content for students to show learning, like poems, stories, codes, and songs, to the point where I'm going to be releasing a Christmas single, hopefully over Christmas, because I've got Bing Chat AI to create a Christmas song for me, with a collab with Bing Chat AI. Okay, so it's different ways that students can express their learning. So most of the work or mahi around Bing Chat I've seen so far in E2 is from the teacher's perspective, how it can help with workload, but this talk will be more about from the student perspective and how they can use it as a learning tool. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, what are the benefits of using this particular AI for instant student feedback? Well, there's basically many advantages. So even in any classroom, even if it didn't have any AI in it, instant student feedback is going to be essential for students to develop as and grow as learners. Okay, it's kind of the food that feeds the learning. And the advantage also is developing their metacognition skills around being able to monitor themselves and see how they're going in their learning. So here at Marlborough Boys, we use Universal Design for Learning. Okay, so in Universal Design for Learning, one of the principles is the principle of engagement, and that also involves around monitoring progress, identifying the strengths and growing on those strengths, developing on those weaknesses that they may have in their learning, and therefore overall they can improve in their performance as students and learners. It can also, and this is the kind of point of this lesson or this talk, is it creates an ability to get instant feedback on their learning using the creative mode. So let's see if this works. Yeah. There we go. So that's just one. Oh, right. So that's just one way that it can be used in the classroom to provide instant feedback to learners. And learners are actually using it as a tool. Because one issue I'm having at the moment in the classroom is getting students to think of it as a tool rather than just something to use to copy and paste. And there's lots of conversations at the moment about what the purpose of learning is, whether learning is an end product in mind, getting a grade to move on to the next step potentially, or whether it's actually a lifelong process. So we're kind of evolving those conversations, and the artificial intelligence is kind of driving those. Okay, so the advantage of students using the Bing Chat AI feature to get instant feedback is it basically creates a dialogue between them and the artificial intelligence, and therefore they're able to take different views and perspectives on their learning. It's basically providing them with a learning coach. It might be different in other countries, but New Zealand, we have a range of schools. Some are very rich, some are very poor, and this, I think, is a very powerful tool to kind of allow that digital equity, or not even digital equity, just equity to occur, because the richer students can afford tutors, poorer students can't. So this can actually be a very effective virtual tutor for the students of poorer schools potentially. Okay, and again, the advantage of using Bing Chat AI or Copilot is it's also allowing them to provide the feedback to something that they are able to access. For example, replying back to essays, can provide it in poems, provide it in terms of code. There's a variety of ways it can provide feedback, which is an advantage that the tool has. Okay, so other questions. So how can you use Bing Chat in different learning scenarios and contexts? Okay, so you can use various learning scenarios and contexts. So you can use it in online courses if your classrooms are completely online. Blended learning, where there's online learning, but also they're in the classroom at some point. Flipped classrooms. So I use it quite a lot in flipped classrooms because that's kind of a model that I use, especially in my senior physics classroom, using a peer instruction model, and also for project-based learning. Okay, so we've just seen it being a feedback generator. We've also touched upon in the last slide how it can be used as a potentially a personal tutor, and also provide different perspectives on a problem, which is my next video. There we go. So yeah, that's another example of how students can use it as a tool. And notice that we're focusing on those higher order critical thinking skills. AI is pretty good at the lower order stuff, finding random facts, but it's where the students come in with their critical thinking, which adds the humanity to their responses and drives it forward. Because really, the AI should be enhancing the learning, not augmenting or basically substituting the learning. Okay, so that's where we as teachers come in. There'll be two types of teachers, non-teachers and teachers that can work with AI. Okay, so Bing Chat AI can be used before, during, and after a learning activity, and it'll just depend on the learning objectives and outcomes of your lesson on how you wish to incorporate it and how students can use it as well. So as an example, actually again, different learning contexts. So at the moment we've got exams coming up. Well, we have exams at the moment being run by our senior students here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. So what I've done is the students create 3 different versions of an excellence question, and then in small groups, they actually critique which one they think is actually the best in terms of the mark scheme. So again, it's developing those higher order thinking skills. Okay. So in terms of when students are using it, what are some of the best practices and tips for the students to use Bing Chat AI most effectively? So here is just some quick bullet points, which I've experienced when the students have started to use it. So the first one is that you need to help the students being able to develop clear and specific prompts for the AI, because that way they get that targeted feedback in their learning. And that's why I implement the PrEP model. So the prompt has to have a particular role. It has to be explicit in terms of its terms, and also the parameters have to be explicit as well. Because everything in life, if you get garbage in, you're going to get garbage out. So once they've also got their response, I also encourage the students to edit their responses. Think about, well, what's that response given you? Could there be ways that you could modify the response to get an even better response? So again, it's building those critical thinking skills. So yeah, evaluate the feedback from the AI critically and decide what to incorporate in their learning. And maybe you could ignore something from the AI, because AI can sometimes tend to hallucinate. I've found, especially being a physics teacher, it's not particularly good at multi-step equations. That's okay at single-step equations, but then it gets multi-step. That's where the learner has to come in and realize, well, that number doesn't make any sense. For example, if I'm looking at the distance between 2 planets and the answer comes back as 3 millimeters, then we have to evaluate potentially about the prompt and what the AI is doing. So you always have to be critical about the responses. So using the feedback that the AI generates actually as a starting point for further student improvement and developing on the learning. So again, the idea that learning is indeed a process, a lifelong process, I would argue, but it's not an end point in itself. You're always striving to improve and gain that mastery. Okay, and then we have using feedback as an opportunity to reflect on the learning process and the goals. Okay, and then using the feedback from the AI as a complement to other sorts of feedback as well from the peers. So again, the group work, teachers, and also the idea of self-reflection and self-assessment as well. Okay, so how can you get started with Bing Chat today? It's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Just need to go to chat.bing.com, sign in with your Microsoft account as teachers, and you'll be greeted by Mr. Bing or Mrs. Bing, and she or he will introduce itself and guide you. You can also access it, as I've shown in the videos, through the Microsoft Edge browser, and also known now as Microsoft Copilot. Oh, it's a big slide, that one. Okay, just to summarize what we've gone through today. So basically, what is Bing AI? It's a chat mode, which allows students to have these conversations with a potentially human-like intelligent agent, even though it's not really intelligent, it's always just going through a statistical model. So I mentioned there, so it uses large language models to understand queries and generate the creative and informative responses, especially if you're using create mode. If you want more precise responses, then the students have to use precise mode. So that's something also you have to teach. It can create artworks through DALL-E 3, describe images, so you can actually upload images and have it describe it, search the web, and generate various content such as poems, stories, codes, and songs, and much, much more. It basically, as we've seen, provides instant student feedback, creating a dialogue, and creating different perspectives to learning. It allows them to monitor their progress, identify their strengths and weaknesses in their learning, and improve their overall learning performance. I think it motivates students to become more creative and curious, and because they're getting the feedback not from a human, but from a non-judgmental robot, basically, it may become more confident in their learning. And I think it also fosters the collaborative and supportive learning environment if done correctly. And I think that's the key to the AI, that the human element is not forgotten. In fact, it's key to it. And then some tips I've provided for our students is creating clear and specific prompts, evaluating their feedback critically, and using the feedback as a starting point rather than an end point for learning improvement and reflection. Okay, so there's about 5 minutes left. So is there any questions? If you'd like to put that in the chat, that would be great. Any comments? Oh, there you go. Elsie's ready with a question. I've now learnt that it's raining in the UK, but that's not really surprising. So hopefully you've learnt something from it in terms of students. Do I have the videos on my YouTube channel? Yes, I do. And also on this website, on the OneNote, there's a link to a Wakelet, which also has the video on there as well. Yep, no worries, Elsie. You can definitely do that. It's all on my YouTube channel. So I basically made it as a playlist with everything there. So yeah, thank you, Elsie, for that question. Okay, so I think I've covered most things. Okay, so if there's no more questions, thank you very much for joining this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and hopefully you enjoy the rest of this Empowerment Summit. And thank you, or ngā mihi nui, as we say in New Zealand. Okay, so you can use the link there to join the next session. There we go. Oh, that's the 5-minute warning. I'm ahead of time. Wow, story of my life. Always finishing early. There we go. But yeah, thanks. So I'll wait around then for a few more minutes if there's any further questions. But yeah, thanks very much for joining the session. And be sure to click on the link to get your E2 badge. Ka pai and ngā mihi nui. And I'll stop sharing. I see a few representatives from Malaysia. Yeah, represent. Anyone from Johor? No. Oh, there we go. Mohammed. Yeah, you know it. Okay, well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your. Oh, Mohammed. Oh, okay. Enjoy the rest of your. Oh, Penang. Love Penang. Penang. Oh, the Laksa. Oh, I miss it. I miss it so much. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so terima kasih. Right, well.